Welcome back to LiveWire. We have Jeremy Dunham and Chris Kao, Studio Creative Director for DC Universe Online. Jeremy, I know you have a few questions, so let's jump right into it.
Sure thing. Thanks, Jess. Chris, yesterday Sony Online was really made one of the bigger announcements of the show with the debut of DC Universe. Flat out, what's the difference between the DC Universe Online and something like City of Heroes, which a lot of people want to know?
Right, well, first off, it's DC, right? This is the only chance you have to step into the same world that Batman and Superman live into. More importantly, it's the only MMO that's really an action game moment to moment. Console players love it, they pick it up, it plays like any console superhero game you have. It's just month to month. You're going to keep playing for the levels and the loot and the stories that keep going.
So they kind of give us a hint as to some of the environments that we were going to see in there, Metropolis and Gotham. But other than those places, what other cities can we expect to see? Is Keystone City in there? Are we going to go to other places?
Well, we want to make sure we really nail Gotham and Metropolis because they're characters in and of themselves in this world. And we have other places that we've outlined, Sharuda and some of the other sort of more far out places. But really what it comes down to is our story is centered on Earth and why all of these heroes and villains have shown up. And then we're going to keep expanding the universe from there.
When Sony Online did Star Wars Galaxies way back when, they had popular Star Wars characters in there like Han Solo and other familiar faces that were support characters, but you could never really play as them. What's the plan in this game in terms of working in guys like Superman and Batman, Aquaman, and as it relates to the player?
Well, in other games, people have played a single story and a single character. Here, this is your first shot to actually be a hero or villain in the DC Universe. That means you're going to run into these iconic characters, but you're going to do it as if you really were a new hero or villain. You're not going to all of a sudden have Superman jump up and go, hey, how's it going? Welcome to Metropolis. Instead, you're going to see him flying around fighting crime. And then as you build more renown, you're going to be able to fight alongside him and eventually take your place in the Justice League.
So one of the questions we're getting most from people right now is how does the system work really? I mean, do you work your way up from a nobody? Do you have an accident to get your powers? Do you build your powers from scratch? Do you earn them? How does that whole system work?
Well, we wanted to build a system that was both easy and immediate for people who are just fans of some of the more high-end characters like Batman and Superman, but also allows anybody to create their own custom character. So you can either create an inspired character, hey, I want to be like Batman, click it, and your character sheet's filled out, or you can create your own custom character, combine power, movement type, personality, and really come up with your own hero or villain from your own imagination.
And DC has about, I don't know, 30 different timelines, 52 universes. They have a whole bunch of different things going on. Is there a specific timeline or storyline that this is taking place in? Is it its own thing? Are you going to go back to other eras?
Well, one of the great things is Jim Lee is our executive creative director, and he's also really important to the creative force behind DC Comics itself. So he is helping draw the very best stories out of all of those continuities and bring them to us. But most importantly, we have to explain where all of these heroes and villains came from, and that's the main story that players will experience. An entirely new storyline surrounded around them.
What about PC versus PS3 compatibility? Right now, it doesn't look like there's any plan for the agency, another SOE MMO, to really take advantage of that. But in terms of doing something with that game, what are you guys going to have going on?
Well, next week at Comic-Con, players are going to be able to pick up either the PS3 controller or the PC controls because we've been developing them in parallel. They play the same, right? Superhero experience on both. As to whether we'll eventually have everybody playing together, we've got to build enough of the game and get enough players in there and see if console audiences and PC audiences mix well. If they do, great. If not, we'll separate them.
All right, well, that's where I jump in and say cut. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will be right back with more from the DC Universe.